So based on the new roadmap in 11.1.5, we are revisiting the horrific visions of N'Zoth from BFA. Now, you might think this is just recycled content, but there's so many other hints that this guy is actually returning. Remember the new whispers he got back in Dragonflight where he saw us from the future? Or the fish quest we got in the War Within, that is literally his own avatar that was talking about how the old god blood is alive. Most interestingly though, from the 11.1 content, we had just discovered these screenshots of a giant, intricate Titan facility corrupted by old god blood close to Undermine. Seeing that the actual location of N'Zoth's true prison has always been vague, is it possible that a part of him is close to Undermine and that this is where all these nerubians are getting the old god parts from that we're discovering in their labs? Is N'Zoth finally returning, and why are we getting his horrific visions back? If you want to get into programming but also have fun while you're learning, check out this video sponsor, boot.dev. The whole concept is essentially a captivating RPG game. You got XP, levels, achievements, quests, as well as a leaderboard, all while not actually just playing, but learning quality back-end development that you can actually use. They got a thriving and active Discord community that can also help you a lot if you get stuck on your coding challenges. However, the best thing is, even if you're not into programming, boot.dev can get you to start as back-end developers. Not only have excellent learning potential, but you can also work from home. With boot.dev, you'll learn back-end development from start to finish in Python and Go programming languages. So click the link in the description and use my code Doronsmovies and you'll get 25% off your first payment. That's first month or first year, depending on the subscription you choose. So start learning and start playing with boot.dev. So do you remember back in Dragonflight when we got completely unexpected N'Zoth whispers back in the time travel scenario where he saw us, he singled us players out? Like this weird trans-dimensional experience where the past N'Zoth figures us out from the future. Surprisingly, we got way too many N'Zoth hints back in Dragonflight and literally nothing came out of it. And I think the reason for that is because the World Soul Saga was already in the works, so they were preparing for that. It's just that Chris Metzen shifted the narrative strongly later down the line. However, I'm almost certain most of the War Within the original content was made or planned even before Dragonflight. First off, they talked about how Shadowlands was the end of the first saga, which means they obviously planned for the World Soul Saga at that point in time. And second, because they were experimenting with xal'atath caverns, which in all actuality was just a test for Khazla-Khan. Now, not many of you might remember this interview, but I think it is super relevant with the entire xal'atath Void Lord plan. xal'atath seems to work for Dimensius the Old Devouring based on all the hints, and back in Dragonflight, we got an official Blizzard interview that told us that the old gods are not who we think they are. As natural beings of chaos, they don't exactly follow orders or a hierarchy like the Titans, for example. And remember, the Titans told us that the old gods are just tools, and they strongly hinted that the old gods had rebelled and they had another plan for Azeroth, their own. It was strongly hinted that they had abandoned the original Void Lord plan to just serve as tools for the Void Lords, and I think this is where xal'atath had to step in. She was the Void Lord plan B. This explains the dark contempt xal'atath has for the old gods, calling them stupid and everything, despite the fact that they should technically be on the same team. I mean, they're all working for the Void. You can see that she's now gathering their blood, picking up their fallen parts and doing something different, not the entire Black Empire thing. It really appears like she's picking up the pieces of the failed original Void project and she's now going on with the original Void Lord plan. However, by all the current hints, it doesn't seem like this is the end of the old gods and that they might still have a few new things up their sleeve. So remember, we had an interesting time travel scenario to the times of the Black Empire and Dragonflight where we had like a fourth wall break and N'Zoth actually recognizes us. He says, "I know you. What you were, what you will yet be." This obviously shows us that he remembers us, and most people thought that we went to the past to give him real-time information on how he will be defeated, which means he will shift his plans. Then he said, "With many eyes they will see again. They will drink and be uplifted." This suggests the old gods, but then we have these two lines that now seem so relevant to the War Within with much more context than we had when I talked about this in Dragonflight. Deeper, deeper its roots will reach, welcoming our embrace. Her dreams sing beneath the surface, our dreams, our song. Previously, I was almost certain this was about the Murder Seal, as this was the brand new World 3 that was planted. It was happening around this time. However, we now have the first ever Fallen World 3 Luna here that is literally being corrupted by Old God Black Blood. It's not even a speculation, it's literally in the Old God embrace. It's also their own blood, not some void magic, but literally a part of N'Zoth. However, now this part, her dreams, makes so much more sense, as this is literally the entire storyline of the War Within and everything else we're discovering about the World Soul itself. But I didn't make this video to recycle some whispers from Dragonflight. Instead, I want to talk about what happened at the Warcraft Direct a few days ago and why it appears that N'Zoth is actually going to return. On the roadmap, if you look at it, they showed us that after the Undermine patch 11.1, in 11.1.5, we're going to get content called Nightfall, and we're also apparently revisiting the Horrific Visions. Now, if you forgot Horrific Visions, originally they were called Horrific Visions of N'Zoth. That was the full name, and it was like these instant scenarios like early delves. We went into the alternate future where N'Zoth won, and we saw this terrible old god world. Now, imagine this, we are getting the blood of N'Zoth and we are revisiting his visions. Like, why would that be the case? If it was just this, I would say Blizzard is recycling the content, and this is loosely Old God related, so it's very easy for them to implement because they already built this in the past. However, we got about 5 more N'Zoth hints which are way too suspicious to be happening at the same time. First of all, do you remember that questline from 11.0 in Hellfall where we had this weird void fish that we take to the sea? It gives us these really creepy vibes, talks about how the Old God blood is alive, hinting how we will soon see them and how this fish is like in this void undersea. Then it swims away, reunites with a Leviathan, which is yet another N'Zoth related creature. Now, if this was just a random fish, it would be a small hint, but remember, N'Zoth's literal form is this fish. We had seen him on multiple occasions taking this form when communicating. It's like this tiny avatar of his that no one would assume is in fact a massive old god. This is also the same avatar he used to recruit Ashara as his subject, as you can see in this cinematic. Now, while we're on the topic of Ashara, this is also another big hint. Ashara is literally a servant of his and has been for thousands of years. The Dragonflight documents strongly hinted that after the awakening happens of Azeroth, which is literally going to happen any day now, the Queen will return. She's apparently within the Void Realm right now, but we don't know whether she's aligned with N'Zoth or xal'atath or just the Void Lords at this point. Like, this is completely vague. Additionally, on top of all this, the entire Siren Isle in 11.0.7 is also a small stepping stone for the main storyline, and it also has this BFA vibes, which is definitely related to N'Zoth. However, the real meat of the matter and the main reason I'm making this video are a few of these incredibly interesting screenshots, Titan facilities, the prison of N'Zoth, and what is going on with Undermine. So, we are going into Undermine. The location hasn't been yet revealed. It appears that we'll be able to reach it from multiple spots above the surface, but it does appear that the goblins have dug super deep, like very long tunnels. Now, we discovered some incredibly interesting screenshots with Undermine. We discovered this gigantic Titan facility that seems incredibly intricate, yet it seems to be entirely consumed by Old God influence, Old God blood, and surprisingly, or actually not surprisingly at all, it has a very strong void team. Now, if you remember something from BFA, it is that we did defeat N'Zoth, but we never figured out where he was exactly. His prison has always been vague. We know it was under the ocean, somewhere deep underground, but it was never a surface facility like Uldur was, for example, where we had discovered the Oxyron. Yes, we had the entire last prison, the so-called Circle of Stars, where we teleported to, but this could potentially just be a part of it, like a part of this facility. If you may remember, we did get the name of a Titan facility called Oldaz on a few occasions in the past. We never figured out where that was exactly. Also, this facility is deep underground, which means the Titans wanted to keep it hidden. It is possible that this might be Oldaz and that we may be discovering where N'Zoth's prison is, or at least a part of him. Old God prisons are so weird, and we know that the Titans had laboratories where they experimented on old gods. I mean, that is how they inadvertently created Gahun, also in BFA. They also messed up by pulling out Yasharaj, so they just his heart, for example. So it is entirely possible that they split old gods into multiple locations. Now, here is what I find incredibly interesting. So if you follow my channel for a while now, you can see that I talked about this really weird phenomenon where we're discovering these nerubian laboratories where they're storing old god parts, old god tentacles, old god eyes, but we really have no explanation where all of this is coming from. One of the speculations was that this could be the 5th old god that was under Kanzlagar, that it could be the former body of xal'atath, but that it could also be the remains of all of them. Seeing that xal'atath is the main focus of this goblin patch, it is likely that this is where they may be pulling the old god parts from. It is entirely possible that this almost destroyed Titan facility is the prison of the 5th old god, or N'Zoth himself, and that they're not only harvesting blood from there, but they're also harvesting their body parts for whatever they're doing with them. This could also be what ultimately triggers the horrific visions we're going to get, and how they're going to explain us revisiting the horrific visions. Keep in mind the wording, they didn't say we are getting new horrific visions, but we are revisiting them, which strongly indicates that this is N'Zoth being involved. So just think about the sum of the evidence that we currently have. N'Zoth gets new dialogue in a time travel scenario in Dragonflight. We get a fish, which is strongly linked to him in the War Within right now. We have old god blood everywhere. We got N'Zoth's fallen body shown in the original promotional cinematic for the War Within, and we got N'Zoth requesting aid from the Nerubians, like a look back in time. Then we have all these Nerubian laboratories where they're experimenting with their body parts. Now, you may be thinking, what's going on? I mean, shouldn't xal'atath be the main Void actor? And I still think this is the case. However, I feel like there's something going on, like an inside split within the Void faction where N'Zoth is really not on board with xal'atath. Like, xal'atath is trying to use the old god remains regardless, but they may still provide one last battle. As I said on multiple occasions, old god blood is not blood, it's literally magic, and its actual properties are insane. Do you remember Serenite all over Northrend that corrupted so many people and drove them insane and created the Emerald Nightmare, or Yasharaj's blood in Pandaria that created the entire Shah phenomenon? Old gods are super weird. Their death, their presence, it's all super vague. While we may destroy their bodies, they technically live through this blood or through these parts, and I think somehow, like this Nightfall and the horrific visions, that we are not yet done with N'Zoth, and that he may be returning soon in some way, shape or form. Thanks for watching. Check out everything we know about Titan Prison Azeroth is in by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Perun and Slavic mythology by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.